Welcome back to Relationships at Work, your guide to building workplace connections and avoiding those leadership blind spots. I'm your host, Russell Lolliker, a communications and leadership expert with a couple of decades of experience in both those areas and a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace a better place. If you're a leader trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, you're in the right place. This is a mini episode of Relationships at Work, just a quick, valuable bit of information, usually under about 10 minutes, just to help shift your thinking for the week ahead. They're all inspired by our Raw Note newsletter, which I highly recommend you check out. You just have to go to our website, relationshipsatworkshow.com. It's at the top. Push all the buttons. There you have it. Nice and easy and free. But today, the topic we're getting into, let's stop focusing on symptoms and ignoring the disease. I want you to take a moment, just take some time right now, and think about how your organization handles cultural or leadership issues. Take a moment, think about it. Think about a recent case study, think about a recent experience. Not your team, could be somebody else's. So, for example, say there's a horrible boss in your organization. What does your organization typically do in these situations? And I don't mean ignore it or allow it. Okay, what are the actions that they actually take? What have we seen typically done? Do we reprimand them? Do we make them take training? Do we fire them? Yeah, could be any one of those things. But isn't this more reactionary than strategic? Are we really fixing a root cause? Or are we looking at short-term solutions with this? Unfortunately, we as leaders are far more quick to want to fix results and not reasons. It's a focus on symptoms and not diseases. In the bad boss's case, I'm not saying we shouldn't reprimand them or propose training or, if it comes to it, fire them. But why aren't we also looking at how they became and were allowed to fester as bad bosses? Why don't we look at the accountability of the bad boss's boss in allowing them to become that way? Or the hiring practices that opened the door for them? Or the culture that seemed to say it was okay until it got too bad to ignore? The symptom is the bad boss. The disease is the environment that allowed the bad boss to thrive or at least be permitted. So why? Why do we focus on symptoms? It happens all the time. You know why? Because it makes us feel like we did something. Because we're busy. Because we have to move on to the next thing. It feels like it's more about quieting the concerns than addressing the issues, unfortunately. This falls into that checkbox leadership that we've talked about on the show and in our newsletter, which we really have to rethink and do better around if we want to make a positive impact at work. So let's look at more examples of only treating symptoms. How about... Here's some symptoms. High employee turnover. When a business area or department is losing lots of staff, and not necessarily for better paying jobs or opportunities, that's a result. A symptom solution would be making excuses or just keep hiring. Now, the reason something like this could be happening is poor management practices, lack of career development, lack of opportunities, or maybe it's a toxic work culture. Isn't that what we should be focusing on? Another symptom, low employee engagement. We could see meh job performances or minimal participation in meetings or events, or a general lack of enthusiasm or commitment to the job. Now, a symptom solution would be pizza lunches. That's certainly become a cliche now, or focusing on social events, when the reasons behind this are possibly a lack of trust in leadership or their teammates, a lack of feeling heard, a lack of autonomy, a lack of a known career path for them. And last, here's another symptom, increased absenteeism, or people that are requesting to work from home more often. This is when employees start taking more sick days or personal days off than usual, or are starting to have a higher request rate to work from home rather than come into the office. Now, symptom solutions would be forcing people to come to work, or communicating platitudes like the corporate values, or if you want to be a team player. Now again, we're addressing results, not reasons. And in the case of absenteeism or trying to work from home more often, the reasons could be indicating some burnout. It could be stress or dissatisfaction with the workplace environment or their interactions with leadership. They'd rather be at home than interact with their leadership from day to day. None of these are going to be addressed with surface level solutions. None. And addressing symptoms just says to employees that leadership really isn't interested in actually fixing things. Whether that's true or not, all those symptom solutions, they could be done with the best of intent, and yet they are not actually fixing anything. They are band-aids. So how do we get to the root of these problems? Well, the first, I really like the root cause analysis. There's an acronym called RCA that you may have seen or not. Have you ever done a 5 whys exercise? That's where we ask why repeatedly, usually about 5 times, until we get into the fundamentals and the causes are identified, and it's not just the immediate triggers. There's other things like fishbone diagrams or failure mode and effects analysis, FMEA if you're into acronyms. But that's one place to start. Another is data-driven decision-making. Look at the data. Of course, we have to also do something with that data, but we have to take data seriously. Regularly, and I mean monthly, weekly, not every few years, we have to collect and analyze data from employee feedback, performance metrics, any relevant sources, just to gain a comprehensive understanding of the issue and its linkages. Right? This is concrete impacts. What are we doing about it? And last but not least, employee engagement and feedback. This is where inclusion is so necessary, because if people don't feel inclusive, they're not probably going to be giving you that feedback or being engaged enough to provide that feedback. Actively involving employees in problem solving, whether it's surveys, focus groups, open forums, employees often have firsthand insights into the challenges within their work environment. They know. They're doing it every day. So creating a culture that values and encourages feedback, that really helps a more accurate identification of root causes. Psychological safety, right there. So basically, we need to dig deeper. We need to look for those root problems, focusing on them to really create a workplace that people will love. Employees aren't stupid. They really, really aren't. They know when leaders are only doing surface level leadership rather than working to enact meaningful change. So it's important for us as leaders to understand that too. What kind of impression are we giving? What kind of reputation are we establishing by doing this surface level leadership? Now, I'm not going to lie, it's going to be more work, but it's actually worth doing because it will make a difference. It's way more impactful than just making an excuse. That's it. That's all. That is another mini episode of Relationships at Work, your guide to building workplace connections and avoiding leadership blind spots. I'm Russell. Thank you so much for spending this brief amount of time with me. I always enjoy it. I hope you do too. And I want to wish you the very best and look forward to talking to you again on Tuesday. All right. Take care.